1,500 years ago, one of the Vikings' dreaded longships sailed from Dublin in Ireland to Roskilde in Denmark. And in 2007, a reconstruction of the ship will make the return journey from Roskilde to Dublin. Besides being a fantastic adventure, the trip is an ambitious research project that will provide a wealth of information on Viking life and capabilities all those centuries ago. The Vikings, who inhabited Scandinavia 1,000 years ago, placed Denmark and the other Nordic countries firmly on the world map. Their ships carried them throughout the length and breadth of Europe and to previously uncharted lands in the North Atlantic. They pillaged, they traded, and settled, establishing an image and reputation that has survived to this day. The Vikings are still renowned and revered throughout the world that once was theirs. In 1962, 5 Viking ships were excavated from the bottom of Roskilde Fjord. They had been deliberately scuttled in a narrow channel to protect Roskilde from attack. Today, all 5 ships are on display in the Viking Ship Museum. One of these ships, a 30-meter long ship crewed by 70 warriors, was built in the Vikings' westernmost metropolis, Dublin in Ireland. It is one of the longest Viking ships ever found and represents the pinnacle of Viking Age shipbuilding technology. At the end of the 11th century, the ship sailed from Dublin to Roskilde. And in 2007, it will return. The Sea Stallion from Glendalough, a reconstruction of the original vessel built at the Viking Ship Museum in Roskilde, will make the voyage from Roskilde to Dublin. Partly to increase our knowledge of the Vikings and their ships, and partly to re-establish the historical ties between Ireland and Denmark.
Our vision with this Viking longship project is to make a reconstruction of the longship and to test it under realistic condition on the waters that the original ship was built for, and that is the Irish Sea and the North Atlantic. The project will also enlighten new aspects of Viking Age society. You can imagine the high level of organization that was needed for building and manning a ship of this size. Just think about the problems of securing that all the necessary materials arrived in time on the boatyard, and the question of finding and engaging enough craftsmen, and specialized craftsmen not least. We have to put a team together consisting of archaeologists, historians, boat builders and sailors who can raise questions and make interpretations on the basis of their different points of view.
When we started this project, we wondered how did the Vikings build their ships. So for us it's very important when we build this reconstruction to do it the same way, to make the same quality of ship with the same tools and the same techniques. So we went to the museum to look at the original ship, and we saw a lot of marks, tool marks and marks after planers and different axes and so on. This axe, for example, it makes certain tool marks. And this one is actually a replica of an axe found in Dublin in around year 1000. So we asked our blacksmiths to make replicas of all kinds of axes from the Viking Age. But also, of course, we were looking at the quality of the materials, and we could see that these planks were not sawn, they were cleaved out. If we have a piece of oak here, all the ship was built in oak. This is a piece of cleaved out oak. You should imagine that this is the center of the tree and this is the bark. So this piece of tree has been in this size. So we went into the forest to pick out very big oak trunks, and that's the biggest tree you can find in the Danish forest. We were looking after the straight grown, without any knots, the best quality of trees. We were supposed to cleave it in 2s and 16s. You're not crossing the fibers like if you saw out the tree. When you cross the fibers, it gets weak. So it's very important that we can find a piece of wood which has exactly this shape. So it follows the fibers here. The same thing about all the 400 pieces we have to find for this boat. When you're using axes only, axes and hand tools, you have to work in fresh tree. But of course, when you use fresh tree, it rots very fast and fungus attacks it. So we have to treat the planks and so on with something. And we know in the Viking Age that they used wooden tar. When the archaeologists they dig up the original chips, they can still smell the tar. We get in contact with some people in Finland, old people who had been making tars for all their lives almost. You make a big fire, a big tar pit. It's burning in about a week. In the bottom of the tar pit there is a hole so you can drain out the tar.
Building the ship was a considerable achievement, and sailing her will be equally demanding. Is she as seaworthy as hoped? Will it be possible to sail the 30-meter-long open vessel across the North Sea? The lead up to 2007 will be spent training the crew and getting to know the Seahorse's capabilities. After all, this will be the first time in 900 years that a Viking ship of this size has sailed the open seas. Carsten Wied is the skipper responsible for getting the most out of the ship and her crew.
One challenge is to handle the sail, the 120 square meters. Another is to handle the ship by oars. The challenge of the North Sea is hard wind, big waves, and the Channel and the Irish Sea is probably some of the most challenging seas in the world. A lot of tidal stream, a lot of wind, a lot of rocks. The ship is very flexible. When we sail in big seas and in small seas, you can see the hull is moving a lot. So it will be exciting to see how it'll be in 8 weeks. Will it last? Another of the big challenges is living on board the ship with 65 people. They have to eat here, they have to work here, they have to sleep here, they have to go on the toilet here, out on the side of the ship. And that's a challenge for modern people. When I think of the Vikings, I think of rain clothes, sleeping bag. I think of modern navigation equipment. We have all that, but they didn't. Their challenges was much bigger than ours, and they did it every day.
The ship was launched on the 4th of September 2004, and people from all over Europe were invited to join the celebrations in Roskilde.
Dit navn skal være havhingsten fra Glendalough. Held og lykke følge dig på din færd fremover.
But of course this boat, as you know, was actually constructed originally in Dublin in the 1040s, and afterwards it was refurbished there and brought back to Denmark.
Putting 70 modern people used to modern comfort down into what you would regard today as a low technology ship with no comfort at all. By meeting or facing the same dangers, the same challenges, the same situations as the Viking did, we are not only learning or getting new knowledge about the Vikings, we are also learning a lot about ourselves and about human resources. The project also aims to give us a better knowledge about the Vikings themselves. Who were they? Why did they take the risk of crossing oceans in open boats like this? We get an impression that the Vikings in some respect were very similar to us, and in some respects were very, very different from us. The sense of humor, for instance, we get the impression that we would share their sense of humor. We would probably laugh of the same jokes and the same nicknames as they did. But their perception of honor and reputation seems to be quite different from ours. It may be one of the explanations behind their deeds and their misdeeds, that they had this eagerness to secure a long-lasting fame and afterlife in the memories of future generations.
In 2007, the Seahorse will sail to Ireland, returning to Denmark the following year. It will be a voyage filled with the stuff of legend and myth, a challenge for the ship and her crew, and all our knowledge of Viking ships and how they were sailed. This will be the first voyage of its kind in almost 1,000 years. It will be an event of historic magnitude, an epic journey that will provide a unique insight into our ancient past and the ships that form the Europe we know today.